On my main experience, it was dark. It was all dark, but I felt there was this mesh. Mesh is what I can call, like a mesh coming all over me, and behind that mesh, I mean, this is really weird, but you can understand me because you have felt different kind of stuff. Behind that mesh, there was lots of people. There, I could hear like roaring, lots of people behind the mesh. And what I was thinking is, when that mesh cuts me, I'm gonna die. And that's what I was thinking. And when the mesh was about to cut me, like it was a dream, when you're on a dream and you're about to die, you wake up. So the mesh was about to cut me, and I was about to die, and my friend was waking me up. Hey, and I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, my friend was, hey, dude, what's up, man? Like, I was like, fuck, man, and I couldn't go to sleep that night. And when I think about it, it's really weird.
So I hit it, and like I'm sitting here and I hit it, and I'm like, I don't feel anything. And then I go to sit back, and I was like, oh shit, like I cursed, and like I can hear it echo. I can hear the last word echo because I'm starting to slip out. Then all of a sudden, like I'm falling. Then I land into like this flower bed, but all the flowers are like the highlighter colors, like neon yellow, blue, like they're like very bright, and they're like waving like this, and I'm like in the middle of them, and I'm thinking it's cool. At first I'm like, this is cool, and then like I'm waving like this, but I can hear like my friend calling my name, and she's freaking out, and they're telling her not to shake me because it will make me have a bad trip. I can hear them saying this, and I can hear her being paranoid, so it makes me want to come up out of it. So then I'm like grabbing the flowers, trying to like pull myself up out of the hole, but then like I'll like slide back down. And at first it's funny, but then I'm like, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. So like I'm like really trying to grab a hold, and I can't. So then everything just leaves. Everything just leaves, and it's just like black. Everything is black. Nothing's around me. No light. It's like I'm in a black room, but like the spotlight, like I'm about to sing or something, and I'm like just here. I can hear nothing. I can see nothing. I'm scared. At this point, I made up in my mind that I finally went too far and tried the wrong thing. I thought I was dead because I didn't feel anything. I wasn't hurt anymore. And like I had got to that point where I was making agreements with God, like, okay, God, if you get me back to where I come from, I promise I won't try anything else.
I took a really big rip, and that's when like reality was like really like they're just tearing apart, kind of like a zipper. I've had a zipper effect. I know people have talked about that before, but then I started hearing like voices like singing to me, and they were singing like, you know the It's the Small World song at Disneyland. So it was like that, but they were singing like, oh, you're trapped here forever, you fucked up really bad, there's no going back, And it was like a toy factory, so I was being like moved through like a factory full of Lego people. So the toy people were like basically taking me apart, folding me into a box, and then unfolding me. It was like really like vivid, just being slammed into the ground and torn apart and put back together kind of thing. Complete ego death. No recollection of my prior life or ever escaping from this life. It was just now, and like this is my reality now, and it's gonna be that way forever. I was being pulled out of reality by like this very powerful figure, almost like a god in a way. He took me out with his like fingers. I couldn't see him. He was behind me, but he pulled me out and he told me, he's like, I need to show you something, because I respected it that time. I knew the power it had, so I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go into it with intent and respect. So he pulled me out and he told me, he's like, well, I'm going to show you something. And it was a huge infinite number of other realities and bubbles, like little bubbles of other realities, but like ours, but certain things were altered about them. So instead of us having 2 eyes, we'd have 3 eyes, and just alternate realities, but just infinite number of these alternate realities. And he put me in these different ones. So I lived different lives. I lived the life of a guy with like a blue hat at a soccer game, watching a kid play soccer. And then I lived like another life with a mom and her kid at a store. So he'd put me in these different realities. And then he pulled me back out where I could see the infinite number. And he told me, he's like, this is not a joke. You don't know what you're messing with. So don't do this ever again.
I like turned into the seat. Like I remember being in the seat, and it's like I could feel the weight of myself sitting on me. If that makes sense. It was like gravity felt like it changed, and I couldn't move, and it was so weird. And I don't, like, it just got a little bit worse and a little bit worse. But then the next time I thought that it was dark, it was evening, so the lighting was pretty bad, and I think that's why it did it. But like, I thought my legs fell off, like I couldn't see them in front of me. I feel like everyone I've talked to it's like they've become whatever they've been around. That's what happened for me. I became the car seat. I felt like I was gonna be the car seat forever. I felt like I was trying to remember what it was like to be a person, and I like physically couldn't do it. I was like, I didn't know how to make it stop. And then when I was out of it, I asked my friend, I was like, what was I doing? He said, nothing. He said, I just sat there like stone-faced, like didn't react, I guess because I thought I was a freaking seat. Like I didn't think I could actually move.
I held it in, and the second I blew it out, it hit me like a train. Yeah, it was crazy. So it hit me, and I'm just sitting in the corner of the room looking at them, and as I'm looking at those people, literally time froze. Like it felt to me like time as we know it froze. And I'm just sitting there, and it's like I'm stuck in this headspace, this scary, weird headspace. My body felt like 100% numb, 100% numb, and I was stuck in this headspace. It felt like time froze. And I'm sitting there looking at them, and as I'm looking at them, say your vision is like a piece of paper, and then you take scissors and cut the paper. That was like my vision. It looked like someone took scissors and cut my vision in half. Like, that probably sounds totally crazy to you. I hope that makes sense. But my vision chopped in half, like with scissors, like it was ripped. And then I took my arm, and I thought that was weird, so I grabbed what I was seeing, and I could move what I was seeing. Like, my whole vision, I could move it with my arm. It was the freakiest shit ever, bro. It was scary, man. It scared me, man. It was traumatic. And then I'm just moving my vision back and forth with my hand. And I'm like, what the hell did I just do? And all of a sudden, it's like gravity turned sideways. So instead of the gravity pulling me down towards the earth, the gravity pulled me to the side, like sideways to the right of me. So all of a sudden, after that vision thing happened, I fly to the right, I fall on the carpet sideways, and it was like I was having a dream, but I was awake. So I fell on the ground, and I closed my eyes because it was like freaking me out so much. And as I closed my eyes, in my head, I could see a train, and it's like I was standing at the edge of the train tracks, leaning my head out, and the train kept hitting my head over and over and over and over. And it was scary shit, man. It was scary, man.
Once I held it in, at some point my vision actually began to vibrate, and it like looked like cell division. Like my vision split into like diamond shapes, which were like put together, and then there were like a million diamond shapes which all were made up out of me, and it looked very, very strange. Like I didn't have any actual view. I just my senses were completely shut off. There was just me in an empty room, just like a million times. And I was bald at that point, and I had these white go-up hands, so I looked a little bit like Buddha. And then I just felt like I was Buddha reincarnated like a million times, and then it just zoomed back on the single version of me, which was in the middle. My senses just completely disappeared, and it just everything zoomed in, and suddenly there was only the color red. There was nothing else but the color red. Then it slowly began zooming out, and I realized that I wasn't the color red anymore, but I was the letter S from the alphabet. And then like my view shifted to the side, and I saw an endless line of Salvia, 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 Salvia. And that then turned into like a circle, so it was like a circle made out of Salvia. Just the word, not like anything else. And then that circle shifted, like the line shifted to a circle. The circle shifted into like a full sphere. And then it zoomed back out again, and the sphere was apparently inside my head. And I saw like a big wall, and everything, like my whole vision, all my senses were taken over by this wall. Everything was just a single wall. And I knew that I wasn't able to leave. I just had to do something. So I basically felt like I had to eat myself out of the Salvia experiences. And I just ate and ate and ate and ate myself out of the Salvia experiences, and it felt like with every single bite I was either like breaking off my teeth or eating a little bit of myself, and it was very, very unpleasant. It just felt like I was there for a whole eternity, and it just hurt. Like it really hurt. And at some point, one of the bricks out of the wall fell out, and then I realized I was just this little brick in the wall, and I was able to see through the wall, just like this tiny slit, and I saw my friend coming up to me, and he then just said a few things to me, and I was back.
I thought that I died. My first thought was that, okay, this is death, because it felt like my brain kind of broke through my skull, and I was in this other world, and the first thing I had to, come to terms with was that I was dead, and then the next thing was, where the hell was I? And so I was looking around, and I was on this conveyor belt, where I was just my brain, but my other body parts were there, but I wasn't my body. I was just like pieces of it, just my brain. And then there was this demonic kind of god who I now recognize was my friend Dylan, and he was completely blue and the background was completely gray, and he was laughing at me, and I felt embarrassed and confused because I didn't know like if these were just gods laughing at my stupid death. And then the next thing that I remember was looking around me a little bit more and seeing that there was a curtain behind him, and the curtain unveiled, and there were these some 20 figures that I couldn't see in the background, just completely just laughing at me, and they made me feel so embarrassed and confused, and the main thing I felt was fear and like scaredness, and I was just like, okay, is this hell? Like, am I in hell right now?
And as I was holding it in, my skin felt like it was getting pulled, like I was Laffy Taffy or something. And I blew it out and immediately was like, I don't like this. And I blacked out and just began to see all this like weird medieval like patterns, if that makes sense. And then I just started to see all these jesters and jokers, and there were this huge smiles, and they were like spinning, and it was making me super nauseous and dizzy, and I just had this extremely terrified feeling. And I just remember seeing this all going on. It's just spinning like I'm in a tornado, the Wizard of Oz or some shit. And I come out of it, and I'm just literally in my kitchen, like on my sink, and my friend's like, "Are you okay? Like, are you okay?" I was like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay." She's like, "No, like, you're freaking out. Just, you need to calm down." So I sat down and realized, okay, I'm never smoking salvia again.
It started off like the other times where I was just kind of laughing, and then I turned around and I looked at my friend and I like made a face at him, or I winked at him or something, and then I turned around, and it's kind of like when in like a video game when the frames drop or something. I turned around, and as I was turning, things just got into slow motion, and then I tried to sit on a couch, and it felt like it took me like 10 minutes to sit down. But it was recorded, this trip, and this whole thing only lasted like 5 minutes, but it felt like years. It felt like it never ended, and I didn't really get a lot of hallucinations or like visuals or anything like that, but it was kind of just like I was in another reality. It's hard to describe.
Some entity, and there was like this question, like, who is the chosen one? And then it's bringing its arm down, and as it's getting to the very fingertip, it starts like unfolding, just like rapidly unfolding, and I'm like, I am the entity. I feel like I'm being like hurled forward, and I'm like, when is this gonna end? I felt the need to like scream for help, but I couldn't say anything. And as I come out of it, I get intense memory tracers, like I felt like I was getting up 100 times. I was trying to get up and I just couldn't do it.
And then suddenly it really just hit me, and like everything had left me, and all I could see was just like this like red, just the color red, and it was this little glowing, like it was glowing in some areas, and what happened was I become my bubbler and my lighter. And when I went to put them away, that's what had happened. And I was moving them in my hand at the time, around kind of like this. And I had broken through, and I had become my bubbler and my lighter. So I'm just seeing things from this point of view, and the red was just the color of my hand over my bubbler and lighter. I just remember like entering like these wormholes, and I could just feel myself moving and it just guiding me into these weird places and just seeing all these strange visuals move along, and like it was just completely random stuff too. Like completely odd, completely out of the normal. And I remember at one point when I looked up at my wall, I just saw like this huge like rotating image, and it was all just created by little pixels, like little colors, and I almost just thought of it as like the universe in a way, and how each little tiny dot of color like contained like an entire world, and when you put it all together it formed this one image, and I almost just thought of it as like an analogy for the size of the universe, like this one giant large rotating image formed by a bunch of different worlds making it up.
Oh my god, I left my body on Salvia. So I got it one night and I smoked it, and I thought it was gonna be like weed. Like I was gonna be calm, eat some Doritos, listen to music, like we good, right? And I had just painted my bedroom and they were white walls. I smoked a lot of this too. So the walls were really, really white because I was gonna do like graffiti on one wall and the rest of it was gonna be white, and I had this whole like idea for this room. So I had really white walls. And I'm laying on my bed and I go to get up, and it was almost like I went like I didn't just get up one time. I got up 50 times, and it felt so weird. Like I felt my body like I got up 50 times, and I saw myself still getting up, like the movement of getting up. And my walls, I sat up on my bed and I'm looking at these white walls, and they're moving, like they're going like far, like fucking warp speed ahead is how I felt. Like it's just like woo, and these walls just were infinite and they went on forever, and I felt so uncomfortable.
I exhaled, and then it went pitch black in just 1 second, and suddenly I was, well, at this time I couldn't really feel my body at all. There was no body, no mind, no anything, and I started to see like I was in the middle of space again. A big sun started to come out from the left side, and just for a few seconds, then I started to see a really, really giant, I mean thousands and thousands of miles giant spaceship come close to me. Started to just roll up from the bottom of my vision like this, and it looked kind of like a donut or a Star Trek spaceship, but I only could see it come up on the side like this, and it came closer and closer and closer until it was, I almost hit it. Well, I did hit it, but before it came closer, I started to see some big red tower thing stand out of the ship. I mean, if the ship was like a donut or a wing this way, the ship was up here, red giant ship, because I couldn't see the top of it in space because it was just too giant. And it came closer and closer, and this donut ship was spinning towards me. I was still in space, and this red tower was what was starting to come closest to me, and the closer I came to it, I noticed, whoa, I'm going really fast. I mean, this is probably light speed or something. And as it came closer, I noticed there are like thousands and thousands of windows across the entire spaceship. They all look the same. It's just a big donut with windows, and a big red tower also with windows. And I start to get sucked, or rather I get pulled towards this red tower, and a window appears right in front of me. And I don't remember what I see through the window, but as it comes towards me and I get engulfed in it, it's like suddenly I'm going upwards instead and not forwards like before. And this tower just slams over me like if you were to take a book and flip the pages, like, and many pages, but it was like many windows going over my head, and well, I don't know how many, but it was very many windows, and suddenly it just stopped.
I was looking up at the sky, and it was a feeling as if I just felt like a blimp. And there are no words you can really use to describe that other than you feel like a blimp. Or it was either a blimp or like a zeppelin, and I could look down the length of my body, and I just felt like a broken motor inside of a zeppelin flying around. And it was the weirdest feeling I have ever felt.
And I just remember everything started getting like a real staticky feeling, like when you touch